Oh,
Pa-
I think, yeah, yeah.
passion becomes anger if we lose if we lose the sense and meaning of what it is that we're doing and looking for. The passion becomes anger if we lose the sense and the meaning, and that sense of wasted time. Passion then becomes anger in that sense of wasted time. Yeah. If we're not careful about how we control it, and I think from a personality perspective, it might be interesting. For example, there might be people who have thought that you were an angry person when really you were a passionate person. Does that make any
Hmm.
sense?
It does make sense.
Okay. Okay, where you're passionate because you want something to work and it's not working, but other people are going to see that as angry because they don't understand the passion. They only understand it as anger. Maybe, I don't know. Something to think about.
Mm.
Also, love can only exist in a relationship based on virtue.
Hmm.
It can't exist anywhere else. Yeah, so if you're in a relationship with somebody and it's not for the reason of virtue,
Hmm.
that you are essentially in it for them and they are in it for you, then love cannot exist within that. It's something important to understand that the without that element of virtue, there can be no love. So um, it's something to keep in the back of our minds that any relationship that we end up in for ourselves doesn't have that deeper core.
Mm.
It doesn't mean that we give up everything for other people. It just means that we understand how we are living and the reason for things. Yeah, because we live our own lives for ourselves. We have to. But our relationships, that's a different thing. We have to live our own lives for ourselves because we have to keep ourselves alive.
Alive. Hmm.
But the relationship is that's different. We can't live the relationship. We can't live a real relationship for ourselves. That's the contradiction. We have to live our own life for ourselves, but if we do that in a relationship, the relationship dies. It has to be different there.
Gosh, I feel like I do not know how to maintain that.
Does anybody?
Okay, all right.
I mean, otherwise it would be really easy, right?
Uh-huh.
That's the struggle that we have is again understanding that the choice that is the right choice today might be the choice that is the wrong choice tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's it's understanding that there are there are obviously some things that we don't know, and the way that we live for ourselves to keep ourselves alive, well, that has to be different in a relationship because that won't work there because the relationship is not who we are. It's something else. Yeah. The relationship essentially is care for the betterment of another until they die.
Uh-huh.
Until, to cherish and to have and hold until death us do part. Right? It's
Uh-huh.
slightly romantic, but deeply meaningful. Yeah, and so that's living for them, not living for us in the relationship. Yeah. I'm I live for myself, but I have a relationship for my partner, not for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like an opposite, which is what
It sounds like the
it,
opposite. Mm-hmm.
yeah, which is the contradiction, right? It's the contradiction. What works for me is not going to work for them. It's got to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And people want to act in the relationship the same way that they act for themselves within themselves. It it's not going to work because that person is not me. That person is not you. That somebody else. It requires a completely different understanding that I will cook a certain way for myself, but I'll cook a different way for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm. It's easier to understand on this level, and then you
Okay,
can
okay,
put
good,
it up.
good, 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 good,
Put
good,
it
good,
up.
good,
Yes.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the point. If you were really interested in blah, 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 blah,
Mm.
why do you have to ask?
Mm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you have to ask? It if I'm interested, I show interest.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right, right. Why do you ask? Why do you have to ask? Because if I'm interested, I show interest. You have to ask because you need your needs fulfilled. In that
Yeah.
in that context, because why do you have to ask? It's ask somebody, um, are you doing something? I'm busy. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
How easy is that? you know? How easy is that?
Mm. Maybe, maybe some expectations.
Well, yeah, of course, of course. And that expectation is that this other person in the past, either in this or other relationships, has put pressure on people to change their habits, and it has worked.
Hmm.
That's their experience. That's what works for them. But that's not being real. It is putting pressure on people to, and that's like in the business world. Everybody knows that if you continue to ask the same question again and again and again, you invariably get different responses in the hope of getting yes. Right? That's what happens in the business world. And that's what happens in human beings psychologically. However, if you want to be fair and level and open and balanced with people, are you interested?
Mm.
I'm busy. Okay. You know that you can get back in touch with me if things change.
If things change. Mm. Mm.
End of story. Because what is right today, the right answer today might be the wrong answer tomorrow. Things might change. Like the weather can change people's plans. Life can change people's plans. The the you know we don't really ever want to completely I don't know. And I was going to say we don't ever want to close. We don't want to close the door in an open situation, right? So, if someone, but back to the original point, which is about interest, right? If a person, if I'm interested, I'm interested. If I'm not, I'm not. Thank you for the offer. Blah blah blah. Don't, whatever.
Mm.
But back to if you have to ask, right?
If you have to ask.
If you
Not,
ha-
not. Mm-hmm.
If you have to ask, then you don't understand. And sometimes that's okay, but it's important to know that. If you have to ask, then it's because you don't understand. But that's okay because sometimes we need clarity. But you have to
Mm-hmm.
ask because you don't understand. Yeah.
Mm.
So, are you interested? I'm busy. Okay. You, offer still open. Whatever. Let's not, because you remember what I said earlier that the end is visible at the beginning,
Uh-huh.
right?
True.
If the beginning begins with pressure, then the end is going to end under
Then.
pressure because of the same thing. If 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 it ends, that's the pattern, right? That's the pattern. We are always signaling what our next move is going to be.
Mm.
There's always a signal. We're always signaling what the next move is going to be. It is the way we are as human beings. Yeah. And that's a pattern that I've recognized over life. That when you get to know people, they're always signaling what they're going to do next. If we can erase our prejudice and remove ourselves objectively from it, we can see what they're going to do next.
Mm-hmm.
If we remove what we want them to do and understand what they're going to do.
What I think. Mm.